guys, it's Carolyn, and welcome back to the podcast where we talk about all the ways to run a better business in the construction industry. Today, I'm super excited about our guest, Liza Hausman with Houzz, and she's going to tell us about customer service, how to improve your business with great customer service, and how Houzz can help you do that and the new updates they've had to their system. Good morning, Houzz. Good morning, Liza. How are you?
I'm good, Carolyn. How are you doing? I know between the Liza and the Houseman and the House, I feel like I'm just torturing people with these interviews.
Well, I haven't looked down at my phone. The last thing I saw was Houzz. Oh my gosh. Anyways, so before we get into all the good stuff we're going to talk about, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got to where you are now?
Sure. So I'm the Vice President of Industry Marketing, and I've always focused on our pro community at Houzz, our pro customers and the broader professional community, make sure we're developing the right tools and products for them. I've been at Houzz nearly 13 years, and that kind of sounds like a long time, but when I first started at the company, our founders put up a wall of family photos for every employee. And in that photo, my kids were 5 and 8 years old, and now they're 18 and 21, which is crazy. So like that really, I think, brings to life, how time flies. But in terms of how I got there, I was actually a rhetoric major in college and thought I'd go to law school. That was my original plan, but I swerved at the last minute. I went to work for a large ad agency before getting my MBA. After grad school, I was a consultant for a number of Fortune 500 companies, but quickly realized I did like big corporate. I liked entrepreneurship, breaking new ground, solving new and old problems in new ways, and kind of always by applying technology. And certainly, being located in the Bay Area, I was sort of in that cauldron of, interesting things and companies that were happening with tech. And after, growing and scaling a number of successful startups, I got introduced to the founders of Houzz. I think there were maybe 11 or 12 people at the time. And I had recently gone through a major home renovation. So everything about their mission to improve the process for everyone involved, the professionals as well as the homeowners, really resonated with me.
That's pretty amazing. So from building your own thing and dealing in this industry, so how important is customer satisfaction as a residential contractor?
Boy, I'm sure from your work that it's critical, both to drive the business and prevent losses and a number of other issues that can come up. We do an annual State of the Industry report, which surveys about 5,000 construction and remodeling businesses. And what came out of that study is that 65% of their business is driven by repeat customers and 74% by referrals. So
Wow.
If you look at that data, that just tells you that it's important for these businesses to provide a really standout customer experience that's going to meet the needs of their customers and really ensure that they're going to get that repeat and referral business.
And I know you do a lot of research into this and into these relationships to try to improve them. What do customers and homeowners say can be improved during the process most? What can home builders improve and remodelers improve the most?
Yeah, just a little bit of background before I get into that. I think a lot of people are familiar with Houzz and that kind of consumer facing piece. We're the leading platform for home building, remodeling, and design. We give industry pros and homeowners the tools they need. The goal is to make every project a success. What's unique is that we have this ability to do research and understand the needs of not just pros, but of the homeowner side as well, right? There's millions of homeowners using Houzz because, as you know, project success is not just about running a profitable project or an on-time project, but also about having a happy customer. And the Houzz Pro piece is our cloud-based AI-powered project management and design software. And again, same thing, goals are winning projects, collaborating with clients and teams, running your business more efficiently. So some of the research that we do to try to empower our clients using the software looked at, what do clients want? And one of the research pieces that we ran recently asked folks who were in the middle of or recently completed a new home construction or remodeling project, what's the one thing that would have most improved your project? And let me just see the top 3 things that came out of that research.
Communication would be one.
Communication. So clear communication was top, and that included, interestingly, having visualizations of the finished project. So being able to, the pro being able to communicate and give the client confidence about what they were going to get. And, if you've ever been through a renovation project and having been on the client side of that as well, that's the most uncomfortable thing. You're like, I'm going to spend all of this money. Am I going to be happy with the outcome? So being able to visualize the end result was definitely at the top of the list. Another one was just the visibility into the schedule on an ongoing basis. What's happening at my house and when? That was a big thing that folks had got. It would have been much better if I'd had better visibility into this. And another was on the financial side, just greater visibility into costs and any changes that come up, what's due when, et cetera. Just being able to have access to that information. Communication, absolutely number one, but just kind of overall knowing what's going on, both with the status of the project and the financials.
Absolutely. So I'm getting ready to write my third book, and it's on residential construction and what should be in your contract, right? And so I do contracts for contractors all over, and they think it's just a piece of legal paper that people have to sign, but it really has a job, and it's to help do that. It's to manage expectations, right? What does the schedule look like? What is this, what is it? It's all part of that process. And trust me, the more you communicate, the less likely you are to get sued at the end. Because from my experience, the homeowner might not say anything right away about they're aggravated about something, and it all kind of snowballs. And then they're just, they're so
because they're worried you're not going to finish, right? So sometimes it's really hard to get that feedback in the middle of the project because the client is worried they're going to do something or say something that might jeopardize the work that you do on the project, right? So it can be super awkward, but you're totally right. Setting and managing expectations is one of the biggest challenges.
And those sound like all those things you pointed out are specific things that need to be managed with the homeowner.
Yes. And so really that's what we looked to do with Houzz Pro. And I think, as you are aware, construction management software isn't a new concept, right? The challenge for the industry has been to drive adoption of these tools, right? And a lot of that challenge is because, using these platforms and, to date, the platforms that have been out there have been difficult for teams and subs. And we can talk more about the sub side, but difficult for teams to learn and use, right? And Houzz was always known for simple UI and great design. And so we've applied those concepts to the software. And while we have all the tools you'd expect to run a project on time and on budget, we've also focused a lot of attention on the experience that builders and remodelers are providing to their clients. And literally, I was thinking, like, setting and managing expectations can be exhausting, right? Like it's builders and remodelers have to be great at the quality side, right, of the physical product that they're producing, but also at customer service. And it's very hard for companies to be good, right, at many things. It's not easy. So, the goal is to have technology help with that. Yeah. So, a big piece, and I'm sure it will resonate with you on the legal side, is providing a client dashboard. So having one source of truth for all the information on a project. So you're not going to different texts or emails or different places, right? If everything, all the communications, and so in Houzz Pro, for example, all the emails, texts, et cetera, can all be run through the system so that everything is consolidated. You can have a history there. You can see it. Your customer can see it. You can push the financial information, the schedule, daily logs, et cetera, to, again, this central dashboard where clients can self-serve. So instead of texting you at 2 a.m. when they wake up, stressed, they can just log on and see what's going on, and hopefully kind of minimizing some of that back and forth, and they can answer some of their own questions, for the things that are standard. Having a schedule, allows you to more easily communicate the impact of any changes, right? They can see, okay, the schedule has shifted, or here's the impact on, if I don't make my selection on time because you've assigned me, the homeowner, a task, right? Like, I'm responsible for some of the activity here. I think often there's frustration because the homeowners don't realize that their own decisions can impact the schedule, right? And if these decisions don't get made, that's going to impact the schedule. So being able to show them, like, hey, here's the deadline for when, you owe us the final selection on X, Y, and Z. Otherwise, here's what's going to happen to the schedule. I think, that's another setting and managing expectations tool. on the visual side, on the visual communications, one of the things that's really unique to our platform is our 3D floor planner tool, which easily allows pros to kind of create 3D images, renderings of the project. It's easy to use relative to other tools out there. It's become kind of really a standard sales tool almost, so that, again, you can get clients over that hump of what's my project going to look like? What's the finished project going to look like? If we move the island this way or that way, what would happen without having to spend a lot of money on external resources or spending a lot of time, on super detailed tools. So like that's really been has been a key tool for the sales process. And then I think we've really built a best-in-class selections tool. Again, it's collaborative, it's super visual. Clients can go in and see all the details on their product options, add comments, ask questions, right? Approve final selections, see the impact of their selections on a final budget. So all the things that kind of give them confidence that they're going to get what they're looking for, at the budget that they expected.
And they can see they're kind of in control of it. They don't have to wait for an answer.
100%. Yeah. And they can go in and, again, ask questions of your team, comment, and yes, play with different options, so they can kind of select one versus another and see how the budget in real time changes, and see whether, okay, if, maybe I want to go with the higher appliance package, well, I'm going to change my flooring package, and they can see what those trade-offs look like.
Yeah. That's pretty amazing, because that's the same thing we put in some contractors put in their contract. You have a time frame to make selections. If not, we add days on to the end of our completion date, just because otherwise you're held to this standard that it's not your fault that you're not meeting. The same thing with change orders too, right? Put in the change order, how long it's going to take, add that to the completion date, so you're not cutting yourself short. And then it's amazing for me as a lawyer, like if somebody gets in trouble, to have everything all in one place. You have no idea how hard it is to track down emails, texts, everything that happened on a project when you're on the back end of it.
Right. And then it's interesting because now that you're talking about it, I think what the software really does is take the contract and put it into a working tool, right? Because how often is the client going back to read the print that says that there's an extra 2 days if they don't make the selections? Sure, you're covered, but that doesn't mean that your client is happy, because, right, what we hear is they often just don't realize these things. Oh, yes, it was in the contract, but there's so many little bits and pieces. So if it's built into the workflow and they can see, I'm responsible for X, Y, and Z, here's what the due date is, and that's part of, they're exposed to it as they go through the process. It's a much more manageable way to manage those expectations than say, oh, you should have read your contract.
Yeah, and I'm like, hey, if it's important to you and it's a big issue, walk them through it, have them initial it so they can actually read it. And still, though, even if you do that, they really don't understand it until you're in it.
Exactly.
I tell all my contractors, like, this is a marriage. You guys are going to be together for a long time, very closely. The contract is like a prenup. That's the rules we play by.
It's like when people give you parenting advice before you have the child. You're just like, I don't know. I haven't experienced this. It doesn't make any sense to me. And then you get into it. Now you're like, okay, here's what I want the information. Like, now I'm trying to put it to work. So yes, before you've been through a renovation, you're deer in the headlights, right? It's so overwhelming.
So you brought up, and I wanted to know more about the origins of Houzz. Why was it started? What was its original goal? Because you brought it up, and I was kind of curious.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. So our founders were a homeowner couple with small kids who bought a house and needed to renovate it. And when they went to try to find, an architect or contractor, et cetera, they just thought the information available was so thin and so difficult. It was like, I get a reference from my realtor. I don't know anybody in the area yet, and so Houzz was originally created. It was this incredible marketplace, right? And it still is a directory of all the incredible talent that's out there, not just in the US, but worldwide. And it enabled, architects, contractors, designers to put a portfolio up in one central place where people could really get a 360-degree view of that professional. So it's not just, oh, I just had a review. It's reviews plus the portfolio, plus the opportunity for that pro to talk about why they're different and what they do is unique. And so pros really, embraced it, and it grew very quickly because it allowed them to really market themselves the way they wanted to show their work. They went from being perhaps just a locally known business to, for many businesses, right, a nationally known business or a globally known business getting clients from places they never would have known. So the idea was really just to make better connections, give pros a platform to connect with clients and show what they could do. And the very first part of the business model was we had an advertising side of the business that enabled these folks to put their work, their photos, their portfolio photos in front of homeowners in their local area. And that was a very successful business. But we quickly realized that solving that problem was only the tip of the iceberg. So it's like, great, here's the client, but then we didn't give them the tools to follow up on that lead and take it through the whole project process. So now we offer something that really is end to end, right? You can do everything from ingesting leads from any source, including Houzz. There's a robust CRM to help manage them through the stages, right? Give everybody on the team the ability to work part of the process that they need to. And then since everything is in one place, once you convert that lead to a project, all the information travels with it. So the whole goal of the platform with the kind of, having it all in one was so that, pros didn't have to copy and paste information from one source or spreadsheet or a Post-it note or another system into their construction management platform. And because that causes a lot of errors and it's very time consuming. And so having everything in one place really enables the data to be better, the experience to be better, and for everybody to kind of be able to collaborate and work in the same system is just a lot more fun and efficient.
And I'm guessing it does job costing and all of that.
Yes. So we're bid management. Yep, exactly.
Links with QuickBooks?
Links with QuickBooks. Yes. It's funny. We were talking the other day to a third generation remodeler who was telling us, like the previous generations were on paper, right? Kind of bringing everything online, right? But he said, we can now take on, 3 times the number of projects that we were before, thanks to the system that Houzz has set up and all the time we've saved. And they said we have near real-time visibility into cash flow thanks to the QuickBooks integration with Houzz Pro. Mm-hmm. So again, the idea is that data is seamlessly flowing. You've got that one source of truth, and you're not having to move data manually from one system to another.
That's pretty amazing. Especially with all of the 3D design. And so how hard is that 3D design to use as a contractor? Do I have to hire a designer or can I use it myself?
You can definitely use it yourself. If you're just trying to show basic layouts and you don't think like you have zero design skills, you can definitely still do a basic layout. The nice thing is you can even upload a 2D plan. So if you have a simple plan, you can upload that plan and use that to turn it into a 3D model. There's lots of easy ways to add in kitchen cabinets, kind of all these sort of basic standard things to give the homeowner an idea. If you have somebody that, has slightly better design skills, and we certainly have a lot of designers using the tools, they can really build incredible models of that finished project, whether it's a, kitchen, living room, multiple floors. You can really show, not just the 3D model, but we then have a walkthrough, like an augmented reality walkthrough. So you can take an iPad to the actual space and walk the homeowner through it, and they can see the before that's right there and the after on the iPad and really get a sense of what it's going to be like to move through that new space that's being built.
Very cool. So, and you mentioned something that helps you work with subs too. What does that look like?
Yeah, so one of the things that we're excited about, we have a sub dashboard that allows you to give, very specific permissions to the subs that you work with to get access to the schedule, whatever they are going to need to do their job. But we spend a lot of time talking to our customers. And one of the things that I heard over and over again, and this is kind of back to adoption, is my subs only use, text. My subs will only email me. Right. They don't want to create another profile somewhere. They don't want to have to log into something. So we've actually built it so there's no login required. They literally just click on a link. They can upload their bid, their invoice, whatever it is. They can use our system without having to create a profile and without logging in. So we're really trying to set the system up so that, we're getting rid of those roadblocks that we here are issues with adoption, because folks, when we talk to pros, like, I want my sub to use this, right? My life would be so much easier if they could submit their bids this way. I didn't just get a drawing on a napkin that came in through text, right? Like that's still happening amazingly all the time. And really the only solution to this is being able to text a link or email a link that doesn't require them setting up a profile, and right. So everything, the pro can set all that up on the back end for that subcontractor, send them their unique link, and they can use the tool right from their phone without having to do anything special, create a password, all the best.
Construction has been late to the technology game. And still, there's still tons of people that don't use it at all. It's kind of sad.
Yes. But, as you probably know, it's changing generationally in a massive way, right? Like both on the client side and on the side of the construction industry, that right, we talk to more and more people that are taking over the businesses, or folks that have, sort of the next generation, even if it's not relatives, but like literally the next generation that they've been mentoring into their business. And all of those folks are very bullish on technology. Can't imagine, right, not having access to the data from anywhere. They're just like, right?
Find a notebook that has that information. It's a spreadsheet.
Yeah. So I think it's just a matter of time, right? And trying to help those businesses where it's still a mixed team, right? And we hear that all the time. You've got, some younger folks on the team that are easy to embrace it. They're helping to kind of mentor some of the older folks on the team who are less comfortable, and getting them excited and bringing them on board. But making these tools super simple, super easy to use, super easy to access from a phone, right? The tools, they shouldn't have to do anything new and uncomfortable. And so if we can build tools that make it, no different than any other app that they're using on their phone, that's half the battle.
So what does the customer service for Houzz customers look like? Who do they have access to? Do they have to call, email? What does that look like?
Yeah, really, we've tried to make it kind of flexible depending on what they want. We have an amazing customer support team. We have like QuickBooks experts on staff specifically. So we have a lot of amazing expertise on the team. We have a built-in chat on the platform, so we can real-time ask a question when you're in the tool right there. Call, email, any way that you prefer to get support. And if you chat and you're like, hey, I just want to jump into a Zoom so I can show you exactly what's going on, the team can support that as well. So we're really trying to make it work. Or if you're out in the field, you're like, I just need to call and ask you this question, that's totally fine as well. So it's pretty robust.
Awesome. So what are some industry trends? I know you guys got hands-on everywhere, like either, what are some industry trends in residential construction? First, everybody wants to know, is business growing or is it shrinking?
Yeah, it's looking pretty good. I was listening to Mark Richardson's podcast the other day. There's always something, right? The election season's coming up, so he's like, okay, we'll want to try to make sure we make things happen in Q3 because we don't want to be worried about what's going to happen in Q4. So, certainly there's some it is sort of an interesting time right now. But what we hear generally is, it's kind of a mix. There's some firms doing incredibly well. And then there are others that are struggling a little bit more to generate customer interest or to close customers. It's taking a little bit longer these days. Mm-hmm. But I think, this structurally, it's still some of the big ones are the labor shortage, right? There's not enough firms to do the work for everybody that wants renovation, and there's not enough subs to go around. So that means builders and remodelers have to be able to run more efficiently and scale. And I think that's why we're still bullish on software, because, like this guy talked about, being able to 3x the number of projects he does, right? If we could make that happen for everybody, that could solve a lot of problems, right? There's kind of a lot of embedded inefficiency. I think the other thing we hear, the same story of getting customers over the hurdle, is that you're not really competing with the next firm right around the corner. You're competing in terms of share of wallet for what else homeowners could do with their money. And right now that's experiences. So especially post-pandemic, right? If they're not going to renovate, they're going to go on vacation. So if they don't think they're going to have a good experience with you, they're going to go somewhere where something's going to make them feel good and happy. And so I think, this kind of same thing comes back to, you want a system that's going to help you run that efficient, profitable business, but you also need to be able to, even through the sales process, show your customer how they're going to have a great experience through this renovation, how they're going to have information at their fingertips, right? How they're going to be able to see the end result before they embark on the project. And so these are all things I think that are going to become critical path, right? Especially we saw during the pandemic, more and more people had higher expectations for technology, right? You were doing everything online, and that hasn't slowed down, and it's definitely spilling over to construction and remodeling. And so being able to, I think it's becoming a real competitive advantage, and really almost a competitive necessity to be able to show that client what you're going to be able to do. Otherwise, they're going to do something else. They're going to do something that looks fun.
Show them what it's going to look like.
Yeah, or they're going to go on vacation, right? Like one of the two. Either they're going to be feel confident about it, or they're not. I think the other thing that we're seeing in the economy is that people are in this sort of selective splurge mode. So they're being cautious, but they are selectively splurging. So being able to communicate and support your clients on, okay, I understand within your budget, here's what I would recommend, or here are the opportunities. We saw some of the research data. We look at search data on Houzz and what people are looking for, and golf simulator rooms like spiked over the last year. And so, there are these opportunities to, I think, for our industry to make money, right? To make more money, even if folks are like, well, maybe don't want to spend here. You're like, oh, but I could build you this golf simulator room, and all of a sudden, right, money appears that wasn't there before. So I think, being creative, making sure you really understand your customers and asking those good questions, and then having things like a selections tool where you can show them, oh, and guess what? You're going to have complete control and visibility into all these important choices, and be able to know where you want to splurge and where you want to save and make those trade-offs. I think that's really empowering for the homeowner, and again, a good way to help win projects when you're on the construction side.
Absolutely. So
I think those are, yeah.
Yeah. So people wanted to find out more about your, when did you launch all this new software? How long has it been out there?
It's been, almost 5 years.
Really?
Yes,
have you seen an uptick in people recently, or?
Yes. So we've, while we launched 5 years ago, we've invested a ton in just making it really best in class. And so I'd say for the last couple of years is really where we've been hitting on all cylinders. And absolutely, we see a ton of adoption. And, I think as you've mentioned in some of your other podcasts, it's this really interesting mix of the tech savvy who are like, this is a no-brainer. And then those that are making that switch either from, spreadsheets and a bunch of other tools to even just pen and paper, and realizing that, this is the only way that they're going to scale, have a view into their numbers, really understand what's going on. And they're being either pushed or pulled, right, from different folks in the company, whether it's the customers pulling them along or
the next generation,
pushing them.
Okay, so if somebody wanted to see more about this, where would they go? Just to your Houzz website?
Yeah, so if you go to houzz.com/pro, that's where you can find the software information on the software.
And we'll put it in the show notes. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I learned a lot.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it, Carolyn.